What's happening, guys? Obviously, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, the rematch is done and dusted now. But obviously, before the fight, I just feel like a lot of people were arse licking, Conor Benn and whatnot. And I just want to expose some matchroom bias. Yeah, I don't really care what anyone says. This is my opinion. This is what I believe. So without further ado, fucking hell, let's play this clip. Here we go.
Look like they weighed in right now because both look shredded to the bone.
Yeah, more interestingly, the scales are on, which is quite unusual. It's a bit of an incident.
Do you want to tell us? Do you want to tell us, Eddie? Do you want to tell us?
Basically, the board have put the scales on, but we all know they weighed in earlier today. And Eubank got on the scales, and with his paranoid mind, I think he thinks someone wants to see his weight. So he's like looking at the scales, and I thought he was going to turn the scales off. But unbelievably, Conor Benn was 167 pounds, and Eubank was just 165, which I found fascinating.
You know,
I mean,
I think he's tricked us all, Eddie, and he tricked me. I don't.
Wait, make it make sense. What weight did you... He has a £10 rehydration clause. So what was he going to weigh? The most he could weigh is 170. So when these guys are saying stuff like this, oh, it was only a £2 difference. Oh, Conor Benn, surprisingly, Chris Eubank Jr. came in earlier. What else was he meant to come in at? Like, come on, guys, man. Like, this is just absolute bullshit. And the fact that people are not calling it out is crazy to me. Don't get me wrong. Like I said in my previous video, Chris Eubank Jr. signed the contract. But going forward, we should, us as boxing fans, should push for them to get rid of rehydration clauses. It's not good for the fighter. We'll get into more of that after, but let me play the clip again.
Wait, I know what it was like, and Tony knows he doesn't struggle like he wants us to
He makes
believe.
the weight fine, but I think this time he's made the weight much better because
Licking
last time at the weigh-in he didn't look as healthy as he does today. I think he knows the threat of Conor Benn. I think he knows the dangers of the fight, and I think he's worked really hard in camp, and I think he's done the weight well.
He miscalculated
I was shocked
that.
to just put on 5.5 pounds. I mean,
I think
every other
that's
fighter that stood up
fantastic.
there, Echo Esserman was 163 pounds. They're fighting at 147. Jack Cattrall was 162 pounds.
Wow.
So I was actually shocked. Conor put on 7.5 pounds.
Yeah, he doesn't struggle.
but
Does
really
not struggle.
surprised. I think Eubank's done the weight well this time.
I've told anyone who listens, I've said and said.
Bro, I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Tony Bellew, Carl Froch. No, I've forgotten his name. Carl Frampton, is it? I've forgotten now. Eddie Hearn. You're all just licking Conor Benn's ass. Clearly, there is some sort of dislike to the Eubanks, because the fact that they can sit there proudly and confidently and say that Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't struggle to make that weight is fascinating to me. Like, cool, he made that weight against Liam Smith, but everybody knows as you get older, you move up a weight class. Like that's what usually happens, because your body can't make that weight anymore. And to be honest, personally, I'm not even bothered about making the weight the 60 pounds. Yeah. For me, where the issue is the the £10 rehydration clause. I don't care what anybody says, yeah? In the rematch, Chris Eubank Jr. looked like a skeleton in that ring. And you know how I know all of you guys are just licking Conor Benn's ass and Matchroom and Eddie Hearn? Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. I met up with a good friend of mine yesterday briefly, and he asked me, oh, what did you think about the Chris Eubank Jr. and Benn rematch? I told him my thoughts. You know me, I don't lie, I don't sugarcoat things. And then he went on to say, yeah, my mum said Chris Eubank. And this is a woman that doesn't know anything about boxing. Yeah, she obviously just tuned in because it's a big British fight, you know. But he said his mum said, yeah, something doesn't look right with Chris Eubank Jr. He looks like a skeleton. So if someone that doesn't know anything about boxing, yeah, can come out and say that, I do not know what everyone else is seeing. Everyone's saying, oh, systematic breakdown from Conor Benn. Oh, systematic breakdown from Conor Benn. Oh, he nearly stopped him in the 12th round. Listen, I take my hat off to Conor Benn because I was one of the people that said he can only fight a certain way. He came out there and proved us all wrong in terms of that. That and I can agree with. I cannot knock him for that. But one thing I will never do is lie. I will always tell the truth. And hats off to Conor Benn for doing that. Like, I'll say it again. Hats off to Conor Benn. You see me? I'm not ashamed to admit that I was wrong. I was wrong about that. Conor Benn can actually box. He can box. He's not just a brawler. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to the upper echelon of smart boxers and we talk about systematic breakdowns, I still think he's levels behind. But to go in there against your, let's say, arch enemy and do that after the first fight, salute, hats off to you. But nobody can tell me in that rematch that Chris Eubank Jr. was okay, that he wasn't dehydrated. He looked weak. Even in the weigh-ins, he looked very fragile and skinny. He looked frail. Don't get me wrong, he did look like he made the weight better than last time because in the first fight, he looked like he was literally dying. But second fight, first round, like I've said, guys, you could see there was no energy. There was nothing there. Nothing there. And you know why I disagree when people say it's father time, because in all the other fights we've seen, when father time catches up to fighters, it's not from the first round. It's after maybe the first couple of rounds, you start to see, yeah, this guy hasn't got any more. Chris Eubank Jr. looked dead from as soon as the bell went. He stayed in his corner. He was just staying in the corner most of the fight. He wasn't doing nothing. And that's not how Junior fights. Everybody knows how Junior fights. And I know, even if Father Time was catching up to Junior, he's someone who would push, would try and do, he would do what he did in the first fight. But there was nothing there, no energy. And I'm sick and tired of everybody licking Conor Benn, Tony Bellew, and Eddie Hearn's asses. It's bullshit, absolute bullshit. No one can argue. Listen, you can comment all you want. I'm not going to change my opinion on this fight. This fight should have never have been made. Yes, I get why they made it because of the history behind the fight. But these guys are two different weight classes. Two different weight classes, two different ages. Obviously, age doesn't really matter. But the weight class, there's weight classes for a reason. Listen, guys, one thing, I'm going to end this video with this, yeah? This fight was always set up for Conor Benn to win. Because they knew, listen, Chris accepted the rehydration clause because of the money they paid him. And I feel like a lot of people probably would accept it because of the money they're paying. And it's hard to turn down that amount of money to just get in the ring and fight. Really and truly, whether you lose or not doesn't really matter because you get paid and you can look after your family. But this fight was always set up for Conor Benn to win, even in the first fight. They were so shocked that Chris Eubank Jr. was able to do what he did in the first fight. And to be honest, so was I, because I was worried about the rehydration clause. And after the fight, he looked severely dehydrated. But this fight was always set up for Conor Benn to win because they knew if they didn't put in a rehydration clause, it would be an absolute mismatch. I don't know what middleweights usually... is it middleweight or super middleweight? I'm not really too sure in boxing because the weight classes is different. I'm more of an MMA guy. But I guarantee if Chris Eubank Jr. was allowed to rehydrate how he usually rehydrates after every fight, mismatch. Absolute mismatch. The fight would not have been close at all. I promise you that. Because one would have been in there at 167 pounds and the other probably would have been at closer to 180 pounds, 180, 83 maybe. You heard what Eddie Hearn said, right? Jack Catterall or whoever it is fighting at 143 pounds or 147, he said. But they've weighed in at 100 and obviously after they've rehydrated, they weighed in at 163 pounds. So that tells you, like, he literally just told us, yeah? The proof was in the pudding, but people choose to ignore, and it's so annoying. I'm tired. Listen, people online keep saying, oh, I told you Conor Ben was going to smash it. No. This fight was listen, this is what I want people to understand. This is the last thing I'm going to say before I end the video. Well, last thing I'm going to say about this topic. One fighter was fully fueled up, allowed to fuel his body with all the amount of energy he could get. And one was made to deplete himself of all the energy he had. And you guys think that was a fair fight. Like and subscribe, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.